So anyway, if everyone's ready to go, are you ready up there in Payson, Lisa? Okay, great. And ladies, we're ready over here? Okay, and we're good on the internet? Okay, this just in. And, okay, great. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, regular special meeting of the Board of Supervisors, and it's July 22nd, 2025, and it's about 6 minutes after 10. And I've asked Josh Beck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have the prayer this morning will be by Lance Marble. Are you in Payson? Yes, okay. Immediately after the Pledge of Allegiance, go ahead and lead us in that prayer then. Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, we have a few things this morning, and so let's just get right into it. 2A is a presentation, a public recognition of Rowena Dosella by the Gila County School Superintendent's Office staff to recognize her for being awarded the 2025 Outstanding Adult Educator of the Year from the Arizona Correctional Educators Incorporated. Good morning, Mr. Sandoval.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. As you know, we work with the tribe to provide educational services for K-12 and adult education on the San Carlos Indian Reservation. We also have an adult, we have a testing center there for GED that we maintain as well. Now, the correctional facilities have their own association, and it's quite a network, obviously, correctional institutions all over Arizona. And we have the good fortune, I would tell you, I'm a lucky man, of having the top teacher this year for the Arizona Correctional Educators. Rowena Dosella was chosen for that, and I can tell you she was a bundle of enthusiasm. And the hardest thing was to tell her no when she asked for things for rewards for the kids, motivational things for the kids. She's just a great person, full of energy, runs a really positive program. And I would invite you over Christmas. She does a Christmas program with the kids in the correctional facility, and it's unbelievable what she does. They feed you well, and they just do a tremendous job. So I would like to honor her. She has a plaque, and we have some flowers, and we had cake at our office. We were going to bring it in here. You can stop by. We'll give you a cake after the meeting. But Rowena, thank you so much, and these are for you.
Thank you, sir.
And we honor you.
Thank you. Would you like to say a couple words?
Sure.
Don't ask for money.
I won't.
And then after you say a few words, we're going to have a picture, all group picture, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gila County Board of Supervisors, for this special opportunity to share my pride and joy in receiving the Outstanding Adult Educator of the Year from the Arizona Correctional Educators. ACE is the foremost professional membership organization devoted to correctional educators and related professionals in Arizona. Representing members from federal, state, county, tribe, and community-based jurisdictions, ACE stands as the state's sole active body in the field. ACE advocates excellence in correctional and alternative education, providing high-quality services and resources for its members. ACE values and promotes superior, innovative, and evidence-based practices. As a correctional educator, I have been with ACE for 15 years, actively representing Gila County. In 2013, ACE presented me with Outstanding Juvenile Educator of the Year award. Then in 2015, I received the Gila County Teacher of the Year award in this same hallowed venue. Last month, on June 5th, I was again chosen by ACE as the Outstanding Educator of the Year, this time in the adult category. The award ceremony took place in Maricopa. I am grateful to Mr. Roy Sandoval, Gila County School Superintendent, for his active leadership and dedication to holistic, equitable, and quality educational services to both youth and adults. I am a proud member of his dynamic team of educators, and I am privileged to serve the youth and juvenile residents at the San Carlos Adult and Juvenile Rehabilitation and Detention Center. I am also grateful to Mr. Myron Moses, the executive director of the detention center, for nominating me to receive this award. More so, his ardent support of our education program. I'm thankful as well to Mr. Trent Lyon, our Gila County Associate Superintendent, my colleagues, students, friends, and family for their positive influence and inspiration. Finally, to God Almighty for all the blessings He has endowed me with so I can continue teaching minds, touching hearts, and transforming lives. And to all of us who are here, thank you very much for the work that you do for Gila County. God bless us all.
Thank you. What a blessing she is. Supervisor Humphrey, do you have anything you'd like to?
Just thank you very much for your dedication and your persistence in helping educate the people that perhaps if they'd had an earlier education, they could take a different walk in life. And so with you and your interest, perhaps from here on, they can make changes. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Klein?
Thank you so much. That's outstanding. And thank you for all the hard work you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. You are award-winning and deserving. So we would like to take a photo.
Okay.
We'll come on down, okay?
Pull it out of the way. Yeah, well. Don't say anything you wouldn't want the world to hear. Thank you.
She has to get back to her classes.
Okay, everyone, she has set the example on how to speak into the microphone. So let's do that. Our next item is 2B, Information discussion regarding the operational corrective action plan for Russell Gulch and Buckhead Mesa landfills. And so we have Aaron and Mr. White with us today.
Thank you, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. Again, Troy White, Interim Public Works Director for the town of Queen Creek. Can you get a presentation of the report? Yeah. I just want to, first of all, before I get started and kick this off, I just want to say we got a remarkable crew at the landfill, and the people that have been there for a while are really top performers, and it's really because of them that the landfill is in as good a condition that it's in. We have some very dedicated staff, and this presentation is not in any way a reflection on them or what they do. But with that said, we do have some operational challenges that I want to go over. Aaron and I have been working on this almost right when I got here. In one of the first tours that I took at the landfill, I'd noticed that there were some operational issues going on, and me and Aaron have been working on, coming up with a plan to correct some of the deficiencies that we have at the landfill. So this is a couple months in the work, to say the least. So some of our key findings that we really want to talk about is the staff time at the landfills is totally consumed with just dealing with trash. They're not doing anything outside of that. There's a lot of different regulatory requirements on the landfills. There's a lot of other operational needs for the landfill, maintenance of the landfill, and some of those things are being neglected because the only thing the landfills are doing is dealing with trash. When the staff starts, when they're on the clock, there's a line at the gate, and when they check out, they're just finishing the last couple of cars coming through. So there's nothing outside of dealing with trash that they're doing on the landfill. Turnover is another thing I want to talk a little bit about. We have a very high turnover rate at the landfill, and this is kind of a self-perpetuating issue that we have, and I think we have a plan in place that can correct that. The overtime since January of this year, and this was as of June when I did this presentation, was putting this together, we have over 2,000 hours of overtime in 6 months. It's very high, very high. We've got to get that way down. We do have some operational failures such as inconsistency and compaction, the inability to do some daily cover, some stormwater management. Let's talk a little bit about that. And then our equipment, we do have some undersized compactors, which is causing premature filling of the cells. And then we have a management gap where the manager is overwhelmed in the daily operations, that he's not doing any of the managerial stuff and the long-term planning that he should be doing. So the urgent need here is a comprehensive action plan to stabilize staffing, restore core operations, and enable strategic management of the landfill. So some of the critical operational deficiencies, that you probably are aware of some of these, but we have poor oversight of the green waste and metal recycling. We've got huge metal recycling piles out there right now, and we have huge green waste piles out there, several green waste piles. They should never get to that extent, ever. The green waste and metal recycling should be on an as-needed basis. Worked with Aaron on how to set those contracts up, and we're going to be doing that coming up here shortly, should he have the time to be able to do that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We have insufficient compaction going on at the landfill, so that's a critical thing, because that's, we're not maximizing our airspace, so we're reducing the lifespan of the landfills by not getting sufficient compaction. We have inadequate daily cover. You're supposed to be covering the trash daily. If you don't, not only is it a regulatory issue, but you got trash that blows around, it gets out into the forest, gets into the neighborhoods and things like that. Inconsistent scale maintenance, large debris pile at Russell Gulch that we haven't been able to deal with, neglected pond maintenance, poor stormwater channel basin upkeep, and just overall site conditions at the landfills are pretty poor right now. So the number one problem that we've identified is the turnover rate. We have a 92% turnover rate in a 2-year period. That's extremely, extremely high. That has to be dealt with. We're actually gonna be running out of people to hire if we keep going at this rate. I mean, if we go through the people in Globe and the 3 people in Payson that have CDL licenses, we're just pinching ourselves into a corner. So we have to deal with this issue of this turnover rate. And there's several things that I think we can do to help address that. Again, we've got 2,000 overtime hours in 6 months. What that's doing, it's causing burnout. So when I said it's perpetuating issue is we hire staff, but we lose staff. So the staff we have to work overtime. It burns them out. It's not what they signed up for. They quit. We hire new staff. It's just a vicious cycle because we're always short staffed. So we have to deal with that issue. We have the managerial drain. Aaron is constantly being pulled into the daily operations all the time. He's not doing any of the managerial stuff. He's either filling in on a dump truck or he's filling in at the scale house, or he's basically just filling in at the operations at the landfill. So some of the issues he should be paying attention to, he's not able to do so, and we need to fix that issue as well. So the impact is really a reduced capacity to meet even the basic operational standards at the landfill. So when it comes to what's being neglected by Aaron, not by his choice, but because he's caught in these daily operations, he's not doing any of the strategic planning for the landfill. What are we gonna do in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? What are we gonna do when Russell Gulch is at capacity? Where are we going? Are we gonna continue landfill here in Globe? That stuff should be planning and being worked on now by Aaron, not 2 years before it's due or whatever. These things takes years and years and years of planning, and he should be working on that. Financial management oversight, which he needs to be paying more attention to, putting more policies and procedures in place, program development. We have no green waste solution. We know we're gonna chip it, we know we're gonna spread it, but it's really not a solution for the long-term viability of what we're gonna do with the green waste for the county. We don't have a recycling feasibility study. We really, really need to do that. That goes directly to the airspace in the landfill. Even if recycling costs you a little bit, in the end, does it really save you money by not taking up that airspace, causing you to do another expansion quicker? That's the kind of stuff that he needs to be looking into when doing those kind of high-level studies on. The county hazardous household waste program, we kind of partner with Payson, not really doing much here in Globe, but we really need a county-wide program for that. And maybe even more importantly than most of the stuff up here is we have no formal retention program. Because we have such a high turnover in the solid waste division, Aaron really needs to be figuring out a way how we can retain employees, and what does that mean, and what do we need to do in order to retain employees over a longer period of time instead of having a 92% turnover rate. So basically, we have the inability to operate strategically. We can't ensure efficiency or guarantee long-term sustainability right now unless Aaron can start doing what he was hired to do, which is his managerial role. So some of the recommendations that we have that we think that can get us a long way there is, number one, we want to shift the Russell Gulch schedule from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Right now it's 6 to 4, and we want to go 6 to 3. What this does is it gives an hour and a half at the end of each day for the operators to do things that they're supposed to be doing outside of just dealing with the trash. Rebuilding the shelf, rebuilding the road, doing the basin maintenance, bringing more dirt over for the daily cover. All those other operational issues that they should be doing that they're not doing, this will allow them the time to do that. We also want to do, just for Russell Gulch, have 2 people work 5 hours of overtime on Sunday. The reason this is really important, now remember, we're doing 2,000 hours of overtime right now in a 6-month period. So even though we're recommending overtime for Sundays, we should see, if we implement this plan that we want to implement, we should see the overtime go way down in landfill operations. But the reason we want them to come in on a Sunday is because there's no traffic in the landfill, and at Russell Gulch specifically, the dirt pile we use for daily cover or for cover on the other side of the landfill, and it just takes a lot of time to move that dirt over to where you're going to be covering. So what we'd like to do is have a couple people come in on Sunday, get a nice stockpile of daily cover, move it over for the week so it's closer by, so that the guys that are closing down at the end of every day, they have the dirt pile right there next to them, and they can take as much advantage of that extra hour and a half we're giving them as possible. Also, if there's any basin maintenance that needs to take place, or storm channel maintenance that needs to take place, which there is and constantly is, but they can hit those things too. So even though we're recommending overtime, we should see overtime as a whole come way down for the landfill. We're also recommending hiring an assistant operations manager. I think this is crucial for breaking the vicious cycle that we're in, and for getting Aaron more out of the day-to-day operations of the landfill, so he can concentrate on those other issues that we discussed on the previous slide. He can act as a manager and the operation manager. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we get with that operations manager, assistant operations manager, here in another slide. We need to procure proper compaction equipment, which is heavier, larger compactors. I think that was recommended a couple years ago. They're very expensive. We'll probably have to do something like a lease to own to be able to fit it into the budget pro forma. We'll need to work with Marin on exactly how we would do that. But with the improper compactors, we're losing airspace we shouldn't be losing. So we're actually costing ourselves money by filling the landfill up quicker than we should be if we had the compactors and getting the maximum benefit out of that airspace that we can. It'd probably end up saving us money in the long run, to be quite honest. And then we want to modify the holiday schedule. And that is, I think there's 5 or 6 holidays. There's 5 holidays that the land people don't get that the rest of the county does get. And it's kind of typical in the landfill industry, because we operate in the landfill, we have to be there for the haulers. But we did do a survey with the haulers. I've attached it to the back end of the presentation if you had a chance to look at that. But there's 2 days that don't seem to really impact the haulers at all. We've reached out to them, we've talked to most of them, we sent them a survey, they responded back to us. And it seems like Memorial Day and Labor Day are not going to be really an issue for anybody if we take those 2 days off. And I think that will go a long way with helping us with our retention, because not only are these guys working all the time because they're short-staffed, but they don't get the holidays off either. So if we can give them these extra 2 holidays, I think that'll go a long way with improving our retention and our staff morale that's desperately needed out there. So why an assistant operations manager is essential? It's going to enable strategic leadership for Aaron to start focusing on those things that I mentioned earlier. It's also going to restore operational oversight. We got 2 different landfills kind of doing things in 2 different ways, but we really need to have a central person that's directing the operations. The other critical piece of that is instead of Aaron coming in when we're short-staffed, which we will be, it's going to be the assistant op manager that comes in that will be CDL certified, that can come in and help run the landfill when we're short. We are always short at the landfill, probably always will be. And instead of pulling Aaron in, it'd be nice to pull the assistant manager in, and then he can float between Russell and between Buckhead. It's also going to improve the consistency, like I said, and it also will address retention, because this person will be really working with Aaron to work on that employee retention program that's so desperately needed for the county. So the implementation and the path forward is, right now, what we're doing is unsustainable. We got staff burnout and turnover continue. We have operational failures that are persistent. We have airspace that's consumed too rapidly, and we have zero strategic planning going on right now. So our recommendation will offer a realistic solution. It's going to stabilize staffing via the schedules, the overtime structure, the holiday policy, and a retention focus. Restores core operations via maintenance windows, proper equipment and oversight, and enables strategic management via the assistant manager, freeing up the manager to do what he was hired to do. So our outcome that we hope by this is to regain stability, ensure compliance, extend the landfill life, and secure long-term viability and environmental stewardship for Gila County. So just in conclusion, we'd like to move forward with some of the things that we mentioned today, if not all, unless you have some serious concerns with them. We believe this will help protect employee well-being, restore essential operations for the landfill, extend the useful life of the landfill, and ensure regulatory compliance. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you for that presentation. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of questions because I've gone through a lot of this with you. I even took Manager Menlove up and showed him some of the situation that you guys were dealing with, so he would understand when you came to the board with some of this that he would understand why the need is necessary. And so, yeah, where I'm at, if you're always shorthanded, if we need a position or two there to keep from having so much overtime, it's great. And we talked about the idea of changing so that all your operators had time in the afternoon to cover some of the garbage that they collected during the day. And earlier I asked Aaron, and you were sitting next to Aaron, the dump was in a pretty rough area there where there was only places for 2 vehicles to dump. The road was steep, the garbage wasn't covered. And so I'm very thankful to the people from Payson and the operators that work within the county to throw in and help you get a better dumping station and to get a lot of dirt pulled up and things of that nature, to get us back to where we can operate for the amount of garbage that Russell Gulch gets. And so I thank you very much for your presentation today. I think it is very much needed. And if a proper compactor is $1 million, we got to close the dump someday, but it's not tomorrow. And so with all this garbage comes tipping fees. So I think we have time to pay for a better piece of equipment down the road if it's going to help us with our airspace and our compaction and help our dump operate better. So I thank you very much for Aaron, as you know, for your dedication and for our communication and what was going forward. So thank you very much for bringing that to the board today. It is an extremely important issue, and I know that because I've got multiple calls, and I have been to the landfill multiple times. And so, yeah, it does need some fixing. So thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Troy, Aaron, thank you. I've got more questions than we have time. You know, I appreciate you rolling this into a presentation for us, but quite honestly, I'd rather seen this step up into a work session, because there's definitely questions that I have that's gonna take some time to answer. You know, looking back in the past, we've had the conversations on equipment in the landfill. And just example, we're, excuse me, we're hauling things, material with dump trucks. We need a scraper. We purchase a scraper. You know, we need to do this, we do that. We build the cell A, you know, for, gonna last us 10 years. We're gonna do all these sorts of things. And now it almost seems like we're back, not at square one, but even maybe a little bit behind that. And so when it comes to like overtime for the guys on Sunday, I think that's something, when you talk about burnout, that doesn't help, you know. You know, maybe there's a way of getting that done throughout the county. So I have all these questions, Troy.
Sure.
That quite honestly, we do not have time today in this meeting to answer. So in my opinion, Mr. James, I'd like to see this rolled up into a work session as soon as we can. and we can have the time it takes. I'm not comfortable to sit here and give you the nod. The landfills operate off an enterprise fund. I don't know where we are with money from the standpoint of an enterprise fund. We've raised the dump fees already, you know? Is there a risk at having to raise them again? All these answers, or all these questions that I have, I need answered before we go to the next step. And the only way, quite honestly, we can do it is just to have a work session where we could talk.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. White. So, and we have had conversations on this personally as well, and I agree with your assessment, and I appreciate the fact that you're able to come into Gila County as an interim director and notice things that have not been either noticed or mentioned. And so, in my opinion, the landfills need a lot of attention, and it's not because we lack that talent at the moment. No, reflection on our current employee, but our structure and all of that needs to be looked at strongly. I do agree we should have an intense work session on it. I would like to have answers on what does the 2,000 hours of overtime actually cost us? How we can actually get the green waste and the metal waste better handled. And I understand Aaron being pulled way too many directions. There's way too much here. And quite honestly, he inherited situations that have been ongoing for a very long time. And we don't need to necessarily get into that, but we don't want to continue going just blindly saying, well, it'll work out eventually. It won't. We have to do some things. What the purchase of additional equipment looks like, how we're going to do that. Recycling is something that I've always felt we should be trying to do. Let's not put things in the landfill that we can recycle. It was a bit astonishing a few weeks ago when we had put so much into the Russell Gulch expansion, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we're a year or two away of filling it up. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I thought we had many, many years. And so anyway, the recommended solutions that you have, I think, are all good. I put a little star next to all of them because I think that they're all worth looking at. I need to know the numbers, though. So what would an assistant manager look like as far as pricing goes? And, are we going to eliminate something to pay for that? And are we going to be able to get talent into that position with what we're offering to pay? All those kind of things. And so I do honestly believe a work session sooner rather than later. I have also directed Mr. Menlove that we could have an executive session to discuss the position of the Public Works Manager and all the details there as we will eventually approach a decision based on that. And so I'm hoping that we can pull that together sooner rather than later as well. So that's where I'm at. I appreciate your
Great.
presentation, really.
Excellent feedback. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Aaron, did you have anything you'd like to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. All right. We're going to now move to item 3, our public hearings. Item 3A requires a roll call vote, which we'll be doing later. But right now I will ask for a motion to recess as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. We're going to convene a truth in taxation public hearing to hear from citizens regarding the proposed secondary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per 100 assessed value for fiscal year 2026, including amounts that are attributed to new construction and any changes that may occur from property tax levies for voter-approved bonded indebtedness or budget and tax overrides. That is $2,943.56 greater than the amount allowed without a truth in taxation public hearing, and approve the proposed secondary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per 100 of assessed value for fiscal year 2026. Good morning, Elaine.
Good morning. Hope all of you are doing well this morning. The Gila County Library District Board has published a notice of hearing. This is to notify property taxpayers that the proposed secondary property tax levy for FY 2026 is greater than the amount levied for FY 2025. At the current secondary property rate of .2425 per $100 of assessed value, the property tax levy for FY '26 is projected to be $1,631,847, or 1.1264% greater than the maximum tax rate without a TNT public hearing. Staff recommend that the board hold a public hearing to receive all comments from citizens regarding maintaining the current tax rate at value, and that any motion be adopted, or any motion to adopt an increased levy to be voted on by roll call vote of the board.
Okay, thank you, Elaine. Any questions, Supervisor Humphrey?
Questions?
Supervisor Klein?
I'm good, thank you, Elaine.
All right, thank you, Elaine. And so I'll close our discussion and open it up for public hearing. Anyone in Globe or the internet or Payson that wishes to speak? No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then, and this requires a roll call vote. I will say, though, as a comment, that we have not raised the rate. We have not. This is just part of a truth and taxation presentation to show that increased assessed valuations are going to increase the amount that we collect.
That is correct. The
Okay.
rate does not increase.
So for anyone listening, we have not increased the rate. And with that, I will call on a clerk of the board for a roll call vote.
Supervisor Humphrey, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Klein, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Christensen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
That shows a unanimous aye to approve, and we thank you. And now let's move to item 3B, convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Library District tentative budget, which was adopted on June 17, 2025, or any proposed changes to the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Library District tentative budget, and adopt the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Library District budget in the amount of $2,894,904. Elaine.
I think you've said it all.
Any questions, Supervisor Humphrey?
No questions.
Supervisor Klein?
No, I don't have any either.
And I don't either. And this does not require a roll call vote. Is that correct? So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Library District budget in the amount of $2,894,904.
I'll second that. Did we need a motion on the other one? Or no?
We missed it, didn't we?
On what other one?
And I move to approve Gila County Library District proposal on A.
Okay, we'll ask the clerk of the board. Did we miss something? Okay, so
But there wasn't a motion.
there wasn't a motion. Is the
Motion, we just went straight to a vote.
okay? Let's finish this one first, and then we'll go back. All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a motion and a second to approve item 3B?
Made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 3B. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, so let's go back and revisit item 3A. And with that, I will call for a motion.
I move to approve Gila County Library District proposed secondary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per 100 assessed value for fiscal year 2026.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for a roll call vote from the clerk of the board.
Supervisor Humphrey, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Klein, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Christensen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for bringing that up. I missed that one. We'll move on now to item 3C, which is convene a truth and taxation public hearing to hear from citizens regarding the proposed primary tax levy for the rate.
Do we need to?
Do we need to convene as the Board of
Yeah.
Supervisors?
Okay. I need a lot of helpers today. It's
You know, what if we get you a puppet?
a puppet. Please, yeah, get me one.
I can't in this budget.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Part of our public hearing is item 3B, and I neglected to open that up for public comment. So I will do so now and ask if there's anyone in Globe or the internet or Payson that wishes to comment on this item. No. Since there is none, can we continue with, okay, very good. And so, do we need to re-motion?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then item 3B is taken care of, and so with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn as the Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Okay, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, very good. Item 3C, Marin, we have convened a truth in taxation public hearing to hear from citizens regarding the proposed primary property tax levy for the rate of 4.19 per 100 assessed value for fiscal year 2026, excluding amounts that are attributed to new construction and any changes that may occur from property tax levies for voter-approved bonded indebtedness or budget or tax overrides that is $314,046.86 greater than the amount allowed within a truth in taxation public hearing, and approve the proposed primary property tax levy rate of 4.19% per 100 of assessed value for fiscal year 2026. Marin.
May I ask, did we convene as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors?
That is item D,
Okay.
I believe,
I
right?
see the question. We have not convened as the Flood District Board. Do we need to have that? Okay, so we are on the correct, we have our correct hat on for item 3C. Very good. This is going to be the death of me.
Fortunately, we only do it once a year.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Marin, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. This is our statutorily required truth in taxation hearing. We hold this hearing annually whenever our primary property taxes are going to exceed what they were the previous year, meaning that the levy amount on the existing property is increasing because the values of those properties increased. I want to make sure that all of our constituents, all of our colleagues, and anyone else who is interested in this is very clear on that. We are not raising the rate. The rate is projected to remain $4.19 per $100 of assessed value. By statute, we are required to come to the board and present to our constituents what that increase is on the increased taxable value of the primary assessed values here in Gila County. So for 2026, that amount of tax on increased value is $50,859.86. Without this truth and taxation hearing, instead of the tax rate being $4.19, the tax rate would be $4.14 1/3. I wish we could say it that simply in the newspaper, because I think that it would make a lot more sense to people. Unfortunately, this is the language that we have to use, and Marion and her team really help us make sure that this is done the way it's supposed to be.
Thank you, Marin. And it is a little confusing. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no question.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Marin.
Yes, thank you. And with that, I'll close our discussion and open it up to public hearing. Globe, internet, Payson. No? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Okay, am I motioning C then?
Yes, C, please.
Okay, so I move to approve the Gila County proposed primary property tax levy rate of 4.19 per 100 assessed value for fiscal year 2026. Is that correct, or did I
Is correct.
Flood district propose
That is correct.
Correct.
in that?
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, Mr. Chair, but I do have a question here. So on your motion, Tim, it says to approve the Gila County Flood District's proposed primary property tax levy rate. Is that what we're?
What?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't have proposed motions on mine, I'm sorry. My text
I
is
think the
different than
motion
yours.
is written incorrectly.
I think so.
And that's why I left it out.
Oh, you
Okay.
X'd it out on yours?
I left it out on purpose.
Right on.
We do
We're
not
good.
have a flood control district tax this
No.
year.
Right.
No.
I left it out on purpose.
Okay, so are we clear on the motion, Mr. Klein?
Yeah, and I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll call for a roll call vote from the clerk of the board.
Supervisor Humphrey, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Klein, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Christensen, may I have your vote?
Yes, aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous approval. Thank you. Now, I will call for a motion to recess as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Item 3D now is convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Flood Control District tentative budget, which was adopted June 17th, 25, or any proposed changes to the fiscal year 26 Gila County Flood Control District tentative budget, and adopt the fiscal year 26 Gila County Flood Control District budget in the amount of $737 and $737,503. And we have Maren.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing on our annual budget agenda items, this is the same as the tentative budget you adopted last month for a total of $737,503. Just so that everyone is on the same page, we do not currently levy a flood control district tax. We are required, however, because it's a separate district, to bring you the budget separately, as we are doing here. And Jonathan, if you can open, there should be an attachment called Schedule B, maybe. Yep, that's fine. And then just go to the, if you could please go to the second page and zoom in just a smidgen. You can see on the third line down under 3B, right, where we have flood control district, and that is a 0, or it should be a 0 for 2026. So it's a 0 for 25 and blank for 26, just so that should your constituents ask, we do have a 0 tax levy for that district.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey.
No question.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Maren, for making that, pointing that out, because I know that could confuse a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll open it up to a public hearing now. Anyone in Globe or on the internet or in Payson? No. Or I'll close the public comment section then, and I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Flood Control District budget in the amount of $737,503.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous, and then I will call for motion to adjourn as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Board of Directors for the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 3E, convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 26 Gila County Street Lighting Improvement Districts tentative budgets, which are adopted on June 17, 25, or any proposed changes to the fiscal year 26 Gila County SLIDs tentative budgets, and adopt fiscal year 26 budgets for the Gila County SLIDs as follows. Pine SLID, $2,490. Apache Hill SLID, $4,023. Upper Glendale Central Heights SLID, $1,744. East Verde Park slid $5,250. Miami Gardens slid $3,836. Midland Central Heights slid $19,859. And Claypool Lower Miami slid $29,815. Mayor.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. Just for clarity purposes, these street lighting improvement districts are taxes levied simply to pay the APS bill for the street lights in these areas. Each year, we adjust the rate to reflect the capacity or need to pay that ongoing APS bill. We do not charge any administrative costs or indirect costs. It is simply the taxpayers pay their tax bill and we use that money to pay the APS bill. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mayor and Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Straightforward, thanks, Mayor.
I will close the discussion and open it up, public hearing for all locations, Globe, Payson, and the internet. And doesn't appear to be anyone, and I will close the public hearing portion, call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget for Gila County slids as follows. Pine slid $2,490. Apache Hills slid $4,023. Upper Glendale Central Heights slid $1,744. East Verde Park slid $5,250. Miami Gardens slid $3,836. Midland Central Heights slid $19,859. Claypool Lower Miami slid $29,815.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mayor. And now I will adjourn, ask for a motion to adjourn as the Board of Directors of the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 3F, the last of our public hearings, convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 26 Gila County tentative budget, which was adopted June 17, 2025, or any proposed changes to the final fiscal year 2026 Gila County tentative budget, and adopt resolution number 25-07-02, authorizing the adoption of the fiscal year 26 Gila County budget in the amount of $158,297,158.00. Marin.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. We have not made any changes to the budget since the tentative adoption. Jonathan, can you go down to the next slide? We just want to make it very clear that the total here, this 158 million, oh, will it work? Thank you, great. The 158 million represents all of Gila County's spendable resources and accounts for all of it. We do not intend to spend that much. I know that for constituents and for the Board of Supervisors, it can be a little alarming to see that there's a $12 million increase from 2025 to 2026 that allows for the capacity to expend it all. Again, we have no intention of doing that. It also accounts for the reserve funds that you have. The $15 million of reserve are still in that dollar amount. We have done the reconciliation to the penny to make sure that we can stay under the expenditure limit, which is only 53 million and change this year and only went up 1.5% from last year. We will work with you throughout the year to ensure that we are within that limit. And that's basically the entire gist of it. We talked about all these tax rates, which you will adopt the third Monday in August. And one of your key features of the budget, you requested flat operational costs. We are there. You also wanted us to prioritize public safety, maintain service levels, and ensure that we could provide infrastructure stability. I know Mr. White shared several concerns with you. Financial capacity exists. Whether operational capacity exists is an ongoing conversation we'll have throughout the year. But we were able to prioritize public safety, service levels, and infrastructure. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I have a question. In our budget, early on when we looked at it, I went through that and I didn't see anything for raises for employees.
Okay, so it is built in.
And then I
there.
noticed today that further on in our meeting, to accept pay raises for the employees. So I'm wondering, before I make a motion on this, to adopt this budget, are the numbers for something we're gonna vote on later in these numbers that we're voting on now?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I apologize that that wasn't clear. When we brought you the tentative budget, we had built the numbers in, but we hadn't fleshed them out. Now, we do have a salary plan that we're bringing to you. Historically, you have asked that we bring you the salary plan separately, so we did. And that when we designed the budget, we built in, it's about 3.75% that we built into the budget right off the bat for salary capacity. When we brought you the original constraints for the tentative budget, our concern was where to fund that, because we only had an additional $314,000 of property taxes available. So as we progress through the year, we'll need to make smart decisions about where we expend funds so that we stay within the expenditure limit. Because only $314,000 of the proposed raise package comes from property taxes. But the capacity is there in the budget, in the $158 million. The capacity for the salary plan is in there.
Okay, so
apologize
we're
that
not
that
gonna have to
wasn't
cut anything or do away with anything
You will need to
to
make,
approve this and a later item on our agenda.
the later item is included in this. Throughout the year, you will need to make wise decisions about expenditures so that we stay within the expenditure limit. Because salaries are never excludable from your expenditure limit.
So in
Right,
other words, everybody's gonna have to stay within their budget in
Yes.
order for us to proceed.
Yes,
So when you say we're gonna have to stay within, that means countywide's gonna have to stay within what their little line item is on what we adopted earlier.
yes. I mean, but there's also, this also has capacity to spend everything if we had to, right? If there was an emergency and we had to spend $15 million, we could spend $15 million. I
Okay.
wouldn't advise you to spend $15 million,
Okay.
but you can, right?
Okay.
And I had a conversation with Mr. Menlove because I wanted to make sure that management and finance and the board were on the same page. When we assemble the budget, my priorities or my perspective is not in this, right? I bring you everything that has come through and everything that you have asked for so that throughout the year you can make decisions based on the current environment. I know that I was very maudlin at our last presentation, and I even wore a little drama llama pin because Chairman and I had a conversation about perhaps I was a little too dramatic about how grim things look. I wanted to make sure that you have the capacity as the Board of Supervisors to make all the decisions you need to make in this coming year. I should not and do not make decisions for you about what is most important or what you choose to expend general fund dollars on. You will have those opportunities throughout the year as those requests come up. Your constituent funds are separate from that. I just want to make sure that everybody's super clear on that. So there is $100,000 in each district's constituent funds for the economic development grants that you are approached for throughout the year. That number has not changed, and we could never use that money for general fund operations. Like, we can't say, oh, you know what, we need an extra $300,000. You guys can't do that. The only thing that would affect that would be if the state of Arizona chose not to send that money through to you. And that's in the state budget, right?
I guess how did we get from, I was just wondering if our pay increases were part of our budget.
They are.
I don't know how we got into constituent funds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
From there, but now we jumped into constituent funds, and it's like, I don't understand how we got there, unless we're gonna have to give them up to approve our later item on raises if it wasn't included in this 158.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to clarify that we, finance and management, do not make those decisions for you.
Okay. Okay, because like I said, when I went through our tentative budget, I didn't see a line item or the couple of $3 million raises. I didn't see that anywhere.
$3 million in raises.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of went off the cuff here at $1 an hour. How many hours does 600 employees have? And then we go 2.5% on 12% of the staff. So I'm just being sure if our future item is in this before I vote on it. That's all.
Your future item is in that it is not $3 million. It is, even if we had to, right, we've got capacity later on in the year to do a couple other things, but the total for the salary plan is about $860,000. We only, right, we needed to come up with more than $314,000. We did not need to multiply it by 10. We just needed to come up with a little bit more capacity. I apologize that that was not clear, and I apologize that we just didn't have the time, talent, and resources to get it all pulled together before tentative adoption a month ago. We really, I can't even tell you how many hours Mr. Menlove and I invested in the salary plan.
No further questions. Okay. Seems to be getting pretty crazy.
Supervisor Klein.
No more questions.
One thing about that $3 million probably put a smile on a lot of our people's face. Marion, thank you. I always rely on you when it comes to these numbers, and so I know that we're faced with a little bit of tougher times than we've had in the past, but not the end of the world, and definitely not the end of a lot of things we're doing. So, but thank you for putting this all together, and I appreciate that. And I think we're on the right track overall, and we'll see what we do later in the year. I know there'll be some decisions we're going to have to make, but we can do it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And so I'm going to ask just so that I'm clear on things too, because this is a complicated process. It really is, and I appreciate the complexity that you have to deal with. So the $158 million is an increase from last year.
Yes.
And we will be voting on certain items throughout the year that we have the discretion of voting for or not, that will impact monies that is bedded in this $158 million.
Yes. Thank you for putting it much more concisely than I did. Thank you.
So let's say we, just as, for instance, we were to go to item 4I, which is what we're discussing is the pay raise, and we voted against that. We would be saving money within the $158 million, but we're not adding to the budget by not voting for it.
Correct.
Is that the right way to? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And we will be voting for discretionary things like Mr. White brought up, well, we need another piece of equipment. Well, maybe we'll have to spend that money, and we will decide whether or not there's money available for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Everything is at your decision, right? You are the Board of Supervisors. We don't make those decisions for you.
Correct. Okay, very good. And so thank you for all of that. And with that, I will open it up for any public discussion, public hearing in any one of our 3 locations. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this budget? No. Okay. I do appreciate that. So let me close that, and I will call for a motion for item 3F.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 25-07-02, authorizing the adoption of the fiscal year 2026 Gila County budget in the amount of $158,297,158.
Do we have a second? I will second that. And with that, we have a motion and a second to approve the budget. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
Okay, we have Supervisor Humphrey voting nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Maren.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to regular agenda items 4. Now, I'm going to ask the clerk of the board if it's going to upset the whole day if we move item 4G to the forefront, because I know we have someone waiting that wishes to speak on that item. 4G. Can we do that? And then we'll go back to regular things on that. So Alex, come on up. All right, item 4G is information, discussion, action to adopt a resolution number 250705 for installation of regulatory no parking signage along Old County Road, starting just south of State Route 87 and continuing towards West-South Road in Pine. And Alex, good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. As you know, when it comes to regulatory signs for the MUTCD, it has to be reviewed by the county engineering team and then brought before the Board of Supervisors. This request was brought to the county engineering team. They would like no parking signs along Old County Road. This road actually is a delineator between commercial on the east side and residential on the west side. So after reviewing it, the engineering team found that there were people parking using the commercial in the residential side of the property, or in the residential side of the road. And so we would like to put no parking signs along the residential side to ensure that the people that are using the commercial side are actually parking on the commercial side.
And this was causing a problem?
This was causing a problem.
Supervisor Humphrey.
No question.
Supervisor Klein.
Does the commercial businesses there, they have big enough parking to accommodate? Is it just people, whatever reason, doing this?
So yes, there are parking lots along with actually right-of-way parking along the commercial side of the road. What was happening is the people wanted to park closer, so they would park on the residential side instead of the commercial side and block driveways.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you, Alex.
And with us today that wishes to speak is Mr. Ray Pugel regarding this item. So, Mr. Pugel, if you'd like to offer a couple of minutes of input, please.
Yeah, real quick, I'd just like to thank Alex, Wendy, and the staff for working with us on this. They've been excellent. The communication's been great. And this is a safety issue because it's difficult when the cars are parked and motor homes and fifth wheels are parked there. We cannot see out of our driveways or out of Pine Creek Resort traffic coming down the road. So this is a safety issue, is what it amounts to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it's creating a visual block to see whether you can pull out onto the road.
Well, for the residential side,
very
correct.
good. So with that then, if we have no further questions, I'll call for a motion on item 4G.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 25-07-05.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous. Well, I'll call you back up. Thanks. Let's go back to item 4A, information, discussion, action to approve the fiscal year 26 intergovernmental agreement between the town of Payson and Gila County for centralized management of the 911 grant fund for the performance period of July 1, 25 and June 30, 26. Good morning, Ms. Williams.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This IGA is an annual IGA between the two agencies that allows us to provide administrative services to the town of Payson for their grant, their portion of the state 911 grant. And I'd like to thank Mr. Albo for the work that he put in working with the town of Payson attorney to they made a few changes that the town wanted. Except there are two successive 1-year annual renewals unless one of the parties wants to cancel. And there was some language changes on insurance, indemnification, and workers' compensation at the request of the county attorney. So thank you for the work. It went a lot smoother this year than it's done in many years, so I appreciate that. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, thanks, Deborah.
Yeah, and this is just an ongoing thing that we've done for many years, right?
Correct.
Okay, so with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve FY 2026 intergovernmental agreement between the town of Payson and Gila County for centralized management for 911 grant funds as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Item 4B, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 3 to contract number 091521, subgrantee for project manager, workforce development crisis emergency cooperative agreement grant with WOWSA LLC, extending the term for 1 additional year, July 1, 25 through June 30, 26, for a term amount not to exceed $257,000. Good morning, Mr. Beck.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. I was making the joke actually with Wowzy the other day that they're lucky that they're a local company because I don't know how we would do with a Wowza if they weren't. But workforce development, honestly, listening to Troy in Public Works earlier, and sorry Troy, but it reminded me how happy I am that we really have had almost no turnover since COVID happened, and a lot of the counties really did, and a lot of the reason we have this workforce money was because of all the turnover that a lot of places had during COVID. So we've used a lot of this money to, one of the main things we've done, from my standpoint, is we now have agreements in place with ASU, U of A, Northern Arizona University, Midwestern University, all for interns. We actually have an ASU intern starting here in August that'll be working with us for a while on the cesspool project that we have, as well as the Safe Streets project that we'll be presenting, I think, at the next board meeting. So we finally have that place where we're bringing some more interns in, working with all the different colleges to get some fresh people in that'll maybe stick around. Another thing that we have, and it's in the annual reports that I'll be giving, or that some of you already have, is we kind of have this really big dashboard. I've presented to you before, but I mean, everything we do in the health department, including all of our workforce goals, as you can imagine, all the different federal and state grants have all these different trainings and everything, just like what we have on the county level. Well, I have that for like every single one of these grants. So we have just a giant system that was put in place for us that has all the different trainings and everything that every employee has to take, kind of like what HR has with the county employees. We have that, but broken down for all the different grants for all the different employees we have to make sure that we're keeping up on all the different trainings and everything that we have to do. And then also some of our things like the nurse in training that we got approved that Rick and HR worked on with us. We actually, our first nurse graduated from that, and she'll be with us for hopefully at least the next 5 years from her contract that we signed with her. We have a sanitarian in training that works with this that'll hopefully be able to take that here this year. She's taking her first time, and she's hopefully going to get it on her second try. So this has just kind of been the money that we've used to really kind of help make sure the staffs that we have are trained for positions that they wanted to get to, and keep the staff that we have. It was for employee training, retention, or keeping people on, and we've really used it for retention. It's worked out really well. And sadly, this will be the last year that we can extend the contract, and it'll be the last year that we have funding to do this. Everything's in place, and I think that we can manage the system that we've built, hopefully moving forward without that. So,
Thank you, Josh. Supervisor Humphrey.
I like the bolo tie. Good deal. Thank you very much for all of the grants that you oversee and all you do for Gila County with those grants that you reach for and manage. Because I know if we don't manage them well, we don't get them anymore. So thank you very much for all the work you do to manage those that we get to help the people of Gila County.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, just thank you, Josh, you're doing a good job, and it's good to see, so thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I really appreciate all you do and all the people that do, that are part of that department. So with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 3 to contract number 091521 with WOWZA LLC as presented.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 4D, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 092723, consulting services for the opioid abatement with Guild Health Group, extending the term of 1 additional year from July 1/25 through June 30/26 for a term amount not to exceed $190,000.
Are you on 4C?
Did I miss somebody?
I think you did. It's still Josh.
Oh, that's another one of those wowses. Okay, I just read D. Can we do that one? Okay, we're on item 4D. Josh.
All right. So this comes from our opioid settlement funds that we have. I was actually going to let this contract go away, but I think it was maybe 2 board meetings ago, Michelle Nelson, formerly with the Payson Roundup, came to the board with NAMI Payson, talking to some of the work that NAMI Payson was doing with our youth in the county with youth behavioral health. And because we're working on some of those opioid settlement dollars, working with Guild Health Group and some of their counselors, and they're going to be working with NAMI Payson to try to keep some of that work going to continue to get the stories out. They're going to be working specifically, hopefully, with younger boys with some group sessions, some webcasting, kind of like NAMI did, working together to see if maybe there's a better way to reach that population and keep with our teen population. One of the things we're allowed to do with that settlement funds, with the giant list of Exhibit A that they allow us to do, is we can kind of veer a little bit from the opioids and we can go into fentanyl and some of these other drugs and stuff. So anything we can do for teens, I really like the idea, and a lot of the people that Michelle Nelson's reached out to in that population up in the North Country area, and I really didn't want to see that work go away. So since we have the money on the table and the contract in place, it made sense to try to continue that work for another year and see if we can get our foot in the door. The other opioid settlement, just real quick so you know, where we're doing the wraparound services, one of the things we're looking for to continue to expand that is to kind of like have these two merge a little bit. So maybe when we come across some of these teens or younger kids that are having issues, we can kind of synergize and use the opioid wraparound money to help those families out as well. So get a little synergy out of it.
Thank you, Josh. Item 4D, Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm glad you're hanging in there with that one, Josh. I think that's a really good deal. I'd like to see us get ahead of a lot of those issues. I don't know if we ever will, but we definitely can't if we don't keep trying. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. So with that, I'll call for a motion on item 4D.
I think that's mine. So I'll move to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 092723 with Guild Health Group as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, thank you. We'll go back now to item 4C. Sorry about that. Information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 3 to contract number 072721, sub-grantee for project management, health disparities with Wowza LLC, extending the term for 1 additional year from July 1/25 through June 30/26 for a term amount not to exceed $245,000.
All right, last one, and real quick, I probably should have mentioned this for all of them, but before we go forward with these contracts each year, I do look at my entire budget, and even with the limited federal cuts that I have seen, I am able to keep all of my staff this year I always make sure that we're good with the staff that we have. There will be some shuffling around, but all the staff we currently have will be funded through this year. And then I look at that afterwards and look at what we can accomplish with these funds. Sadly, if you guys all remember Stella Gore, one of our stellar employees during the COVID outbreak, who I think almost everybody here had a COVID test or something through her at the health department at one point in time. She actually used to do our opioid, our naloxone distribution, our opioid program for the county. She was actually hired by WOWSA as well. So part of the reason we continue to work with her is that is not an area of expertise for me, nor most of the people that we have in the county department, but Stella has always been amazing working with our regional behavioral health centers and the hospitals and everybody with naloxone distribution. So, and that's the primary portion of this grant, is that OD2A action grant that we have. And so this money gets contracted out to them and another local person that we have that's working on that grant. So.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
Just again, thank you for all your management skills. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
She's a good hand, so yeah, good job, Josh. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. With that, I'll call for a motion. Item 4C.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 3 to contract number 072721 with WOWZA LLC as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Very good. Thank you, Josh. Item 4E, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 250703, designating Marion Blythe Belling, Financial Director, as the Chief Fiscal Officer for the Gila County as required by Arizona Revised Statute 41-1279.07, paragraph E, to submit the fiscal year 2026 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As required by Arizona Revised Statute 41-1279.07E, request that you appoint Marion Belling as Chief Fiscal Officer for Gila County.
Thank you, Supervisor Humphrey.
Just congratulations. I have, I appreciate what you do. I know sometimes that we kind of lock horns, but that's nothing to do with what your skills are, and I appreciate them very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein.
Did you ask Marion if she really wanted to do that, James?
No. Never crossed my mind, and I wouldn't.
Congratulations, Marion. You got it handled. Thank you, James.
Yes, thank you, James. I guess I'm a little confused. I kind of thought she already had that position.
Annually, as required by statute, the Board of Supervisors has to designate the Chief Fiscal Officer.
So it's a reassertion?
Yes.
Yes, by statute. Okay, thank you. Thank you for all you do, Marion. And with that, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 250703.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for
Mr. Menlove. Thank you.
being willing to accept.
Yes. Let's see if I can keep my cognitive abilities together enough to finish today. Item 3F, 4F, is going to be information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 250704 for the installation of a regulatory stop sign at the intersection of West Outlaw Lane and South Ewing Trail located in Tonto Basin. Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Again, regulatory signs, the engineering team reviews and brings it before the board. As Tonto Basin continues to develop on the east side after the construction of the bridge, Outlaw Lane was brought to our attention for regulatory signage. And after reviewing, as it's a three-way intersection, or excuse me, a T intersection, and Outlaw Lane being the road that comes into the T, a stop sign was evaluated as feasible for that location, so that's what we would like to present to you today.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
If Tonto Basin's like Pleasant Valley, that's whatever. Thank you, Alex. That's good. Maybe we can prevent a wreck.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex. And with that, I'll call for a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 25-07-04.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 4F. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, great. We have now, skipping on to 4H. Information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 25-07-06 for the installation of regulatory stop signage at the intersection of Northwestern Way, West Coyote Drive in Strawberry. Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. In essence, this is identical to what we just discussed, except that it's in Strawberry. So Western Way is the coming into the T intersection on Coyote Drive. If you've been up there, you'll notice that it's a very steep, Western Way is very steep, and so keeping people from just rolling through that intersection will provide safety features going forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've been there.
If not, I'll be willing to take you there.
Supervisor Humphrey, anything you'd like to add?
No questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 250706.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Need to get Alex a little sign for his back window that says, "Here's your sign." Got one of that. So, all right, last item in category 4, 4I. Information, discussion, action to adopt fiscal year 2026 Gila County salary plan, which provides a $1 hour increase for 88% of staff and 2.5% increase for the remaining 12% of staff, effective the first full pay period of the fiscal year. Maren.
Yes, good morning again, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. As stated earlier, historically, the Board of Supervisors has asked us to bring the salary plan separately to the board for approval from the budget, so we have brought this agenda item today. The goal of the salary plan this year was to provide, as it has been in the past, the most benefit for the most employees. After Mr. Menlove and I went through, was it 13 iterations or was it 14? It's been a journey. What we came up with that was the most appropriate and provided the most benefit for the most people was $1 an hour or 2.5%. The $1 an hour ensures that all of our employees are receiving at least $2,080, right? They're getting that $2,080 added to their salary. That would represent 345 staff who are in that category. This is for our active staff, not our budgeted staff. The 2.5% is the ceiling that we put on anyone else. So there are 48 staff that would be at 2.5%. We use 2.5% as the consumer price index ratio that the Social Security Administration implemented. So we are using the 2.5% as the limit for those folks, or $1 an hour for the other 345. To be very clear, of the 345, $2,080 a year for some of them is over a 6% raise. For the folks who are in our 170 pay grade, it's almost 6.5% salary increase. Put this up here so it catches better. There you go. So by providing that $1 an hour salary increase, we are bringing our bottom and everybody else up. It will create some compression, and we have an idea for how to address that, but it's not a ton of compression. So we are bringing you this plan as the most equitable way that we could come up with to benefit everyone as much as possible. We're showing it here just so that you can see that, right, as just a different representation, that those 345 staff represent 88% of your current active full-time eligible employees. In the past, we have also had some question about how our salary plan compares to our insurance premium changes. And in the past, it wasn't clear to people that they heard that the insurance premium plan was going up this percentage and the salary plan was going up this percentage, and the concern was that they weren't keeping pace with each other. So we brought this to you just so that it's right out there in front. If someone is receiving the $1 an hour raise and they are on family coverage, we know that their family coverage for the year, that premium, the employee's portion of the premium, is going to go up $221.76, which means that of the $2,080, those employees keep $1,858.24 of the increase. On a per paycheck basis, that means $70.76. For individuals with single coverage, the $2,080, the $1 an hour, compares to the insurance increase for the year, which would be $39.36. So those individuals will keep $2,040.64 of the salary increase. This is one of those things that has been asked in the past, and because the insurance premiums are adopted in April, we wanted to make sure that this was right there for you. And happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So I see the $1 an hour for the 345, but the 2.5% for the other 48 employees, what does that average out to per person?
I don't know offhand. I'd have to back into the math.
So, who are the 48 other people? I mean, what level are they?
$2,080 is 2.5% of $83,200. So anybody whose salary is below $83,200 will receive $1 an hour. That's where the split is. Anybody whose salary is over that is capped at 2.5%.
Okay, so let's say somebody at 85,000 a year at 2.5%. What does that come out to?
Hang on just a second. Let me grab
Mr.
my
Chairman,
calculator.
George Klein, if someone was making 100,000 a year, that would be an increase of 2,500.
2,500.
So if there's someone at 85 or 90,000, that's going to be 2,350 or something like that.
So what I'm hearing you say then, James and Maren, is that the $1 an hour is, like Maren said, is actually about 6% for those 345 people, correct?
It averages out to between 4.5% and 5%, depending on.
The reason I'm asking questions is my focus has always been at the lower levels in the county.
Right.
That's the ones when I hear Troy White talking about retention and us trying to get folks on board that we need on board, that always has to do with wages, always. And so my focus, I know that a lot of people here work hard. They've gone through a lot of training. They've been here forever. And whatnot. The percentage is always in the past that I remember, and I could very well be wrong, you guys correct me, but the percentage has always been a little higher, I think, for those people than this one is. So when I hear you say that this $1 per hour comes out actually at 6 point whatever %, I like that. And if you're telling me that $100,000, a person with $100,000 at 2.3%, is only going to come out $2,500. So we're really right in there. I've always, I don't think I've ever really grasped the compression issue. I'll be the first to say that. And so I've always focused on the fact, if I'm making $100,000 and I have somebody working for me that makes $38,000 or $42,000, I'd rather see them get the money than me. I've always said that. You know, we have an easier time, or should have an easier time when we make higher wage. So my focus on this is that, just that, where are we? So what I guess I'm trying to say in a nutshell is that if we're gonna put that kind of an increase in our lower level, that to me is a good start. It's not what I'm really looking for as a final increase. You know, I'd like to see it be a lot more than that in our lower levels and even a little less at our higher levels. And you guys in that 48 group can throw tomatoes at me if you want, that's fine, but that's where my focus is.
Just, so, I'm sorry, Mr. Klein, you asked
you're
what
good.
it would be for somebody at 85,000. It would be $2,125 at the 2.5%. On the other end of the scale, though, if we only applied 2.5% to someone making $36,000 a year, the raise would only be $900.
Yeah, I know.
And we felt like that wasn't equitable or even close. So when we look at the 2,080 divided by 36,000 for someone on that lower end of the scale, so that's not the bottom. It's the folks who are in that 270 pay grade. That's 5.78%. So more than double what the Social Security Consumer Price Index adjustment is.
Yeah, so please don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see the dollar an hour versus the percentage like we worked with in the past. Because you're absolutely right. That's not good. And
No.
so this is better. We're closer to being where I would like to see us than we have. I'll put it that way. So go ahead, James.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, one thing I did want to point out was that it is by far more expensive to do that $2,080. That's some real dollars that, as a board, you would be investing in our employees. The 2.5% for those, the 12% that are more is a few $1,000s, but it's the majority of that, the cost is going with that minimum $2,080. That's much more costly to the county than the 2.5%.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, James. And Maren, thank you both for putting in the time and effort on this. I really think that for our county, you know, when back in the day, I know when me and Tim started, it was horrible on wages here. And so we continue to get better. We've come a long ways and we're gaining. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Maren. I do appreciate the dual approach here. I think that's the correct approach because we've tried it with just strictly percents. We've tried it with strictly just a dollar amount, and this is a combination, and I think it's great. The total cost for this increase, I think you mentioned somewhere in the 600 and some thousand range, of which we have about 300 and some $1,000. So the extra, say 300, the extra 300 is going to come from someplace, but it's uncertain where that is. It's buried in the budget somewhere. We can find it in our general money, right? We can cut something else if we want, and all of that. So we still haven't necessarily said this is exactly where the extra 300,000 is coming from.
So we have, let me just make sure that I'm looking at the right number here. So the overall cost to the general fund is right around $600,000, as you said. 314 of that can come from your increased property taxes. Because we were very conservative with revenues, it's possible that revenues are going to perform just fine and you're not going to have to make any hard decisions.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure that the capacity was there for everything, but you're correct, Supervisor. It's about another $280,000 that we need to carefully make decisions throughout the year to ensure that this capacity is there.
Thank you for that. And from what I understand about compression, because I've had to learn about what that means. It seems like it's more problematic when we hire a new person. They come in,
Yeah.
we say, this is your salary, and now that salary is identical or higher than someone who's been here 10 years.
Correct.
And that's where the problem comes,
Yes.
is that the start pay for someone versus someone that's been here for a while. And so as we raise these people from the bottom, that compression is actually tolerable, in my opinion.
We are working on it. When we looked at the compression issue, what we looked at internally for staff is what it would take to keep them at the same amount through the range with these salary increases. The largest one was 83.5 cents an hour. So we plan to bring you another agenda item later in the fiscal year after we get a chance to see what revenues are doing to address compression issues. We figured at 80 cents or 83.5 cents an hour and downward that it was not something that we needed to solve today.
Okay. I never would like to see a compression issue just keep the lower end low.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And the other thing, so with the 2.5%, that's the flip side of your percentages. If we had done a straight across the board percentage, it wouldn't create compression at all. It's the dollar an hour creates compression, but it's important that we provide that.
I agree. Anything else? If not, Mr. Menlove.
I'm sorry. One more comment. We looked at a department this year, request from an elected official actually, of looking at the salaries within that department because there was purported turnover. We looked at that in the last 5 years, the employees that had remained in that department for 5 years, one employee had received, because of the policies that you got and trying to cover the lower end employees, one employee had increased over 5 years 55%. That's over 10% a year. And the other couple of employees were in the mid 40s, 45%. So this is the long-term impact that you've had that, like you said, that we've been able to do some things over the last 5 years since we've had COVID. Inflation was rampant, and you've taken care of them, you addressed them. 55% is unheard of throughout the county and throughout industry, frankly. So you've done a really good job in addressing the needs of those that are perhaps in the lower rungs of the pay grades. So thank you for that.
Thank you, James. I'll call for motion item 4I.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the fiscal year 2026 Gila County Salary Plan as presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Maren.
Thank you.
We have consent agendas, item 5A through 5E. I'll ask the supervisors whether you would like to remove one or more for further discussion, separate vote. Supervisor Humphrey.
There's nothing I care to take off.
Supervisor Klein.
I think I'm good with them.
Okay, then I'll call for a motion to approve consent agendas item 5A through E.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, it sounds like it might be raining. That's the sound of rain, by the way, if you didn't know.
That's
We had forgot.
Today's
Wow.
pastor should get, an upvote, right? He made it rain.
Yes, we will vote for it to continue. Call to the public. Anyone here in Globe? No on the internet and no in Payson. Thank you. We'll close that. Item 7 is our reports. And so, Mr. Menlove, what do you have for us?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I wanted to report that on July 10th, I attended the Maricopa County Law Enforcement Training Academy graduation, and I had a personal interest. My daughter-in-law has completed the training academy and graduated. She is now a deputy sheriff with Gila County. I couldn't be more proud of her. But as they went through this graduation, had a video of some of the things that they did, and it's just, I could never imagine that my daughter-in-law is diminutive and 5'2" or something like that, 100 pounds soaking wet, that they send somebody in there that's 6'4", 250 pounds, and it's just a free-for-all, a brawl of survival. And she's expected to hold her own against this mammoth of a man. And she found a way. She's very creative, and I'm not going to describe what she did to. I'll leave your imaginations to that. But I am extremely proud of her. When she expressed this interest in coming to work for the Gila County Sheriff's Office, I told her that's another elected official's office. You cannot come to me. You cannot ask for anything or any favors or anything like that. You're on your own. And she's spunky and she's tough, and she will be a great asset to Gila County. I'm just as proud of, even though I can't step in the way or do anything for her, I'm still extremely proud. And again, made me recognize and realize what our deputies do and what to help ensure our safety, what they are confronted with daily. So I appreciate the Sheriff's Office. He was here earlier. I was going to ask him to comment, but he's gone. But so anyway, that was July 10th, and a great graduation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Menlove. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I held the Tunnel Basin Community Meeting on the 1st, held a Roosevelt Community Meeting on the 14th, KQSS on the 14th, attended a Miami Town Council Hall on the 14th. We'll attend a team meeting with Michael O'Driscoll and staff on the 23rd at 2. And I did some research because, like, I'm always talking about projects and going over projects. Supervisor Klein, I know your main project is the Veteran Center, and Supervisor Christensen never heard much about projects and stuff. So what I did is I went through a population comparison chart, and so what I ended up looking up is District 1, 2, and 3. From the census, District 1 has 15,229 people, District 2, 13,456, District 3, 16,625. And the reason I did this is because what I wanted to see is how much of our constituents are served by another government. And so what it ended up being is a District 1 out of all the people in your district, 17.46%, you're their only government. The rest are governed by Town of Payson or Star Valley. Okay? And then for District 3, 16.53% of District 3 is you're their only government for the call for the roads or whatever. And on District 2, 50% of my constituents, I'm their only government. Out of the unincorporated is 6,741 people. 50% of them, I'm their only government. So what this showed me was that is when it comes to answering constituents and having constituents complain to you, I have more constituents where I'm their only government than both District 1 and District 3 are. And then I went with registered voters, and it comes out about the same on registered voters. And I did that on roads as well. And, when we get into roads, sorry, Supervisor Christensen, you only got 96 miles of roads in your district. And I have 272 miles, and Supervisor Klein has 383 miles of road. That's paved and unpaved. And so anyway, I came up with that. And so that's, I mean, I just wanted to bring that information, and like, I can have Terry email you that information, but when it comes to, you know, a lot of these things going on and complaint from constituents, sometimes some of these projects get pretty important. And so, but anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll take a copy, thanks. Supervisor Klein.
You'll do what?
I'll take a copy.
Oh. Well, you know, I think the numbers are numbers, but I think there's a lot involved with that as well, as far as the reservations I serve. You know, just because, they're reservations don't mean we don't get the calls. Don't mean we don't get the projects. You know, just because, other communities, that I have, unincorporated, you know, I get those calls. Incorporated, I still get those calls. I think as districts, I think as a board, as a whole, I think we've done a good job in the past recognizing a lot of these districts have been very good supporting each other on projects. And hopefully it continues like that, because there are differences between these three districts. Something I don't think that you can just necessarily rely on numbers, but as far as locations, on and on and on, there's differences. But anyway, thank you, Tim, for the information. I'm trying to remember. I tell you what, when we don't have a meeting for 2 weeks, it's hard to get back in the groove of things. But I told you guys before I went to Philadelphia as part of the public lands package and WIR. When I was back there on public lands, we entertained quite a few resolutions in public lands. I co-sponsored some of them, several of them. And for example, one of them, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, are issues with the cell phone towers. Over and over again, we have cell phone companies wanting to build cell phone towers on private properties. We all know why. They don't want to go through the hoops to get it done on federal lands. One of the resolutions was to say, hey, you need to be looking at federal properties. You need to be looking at federal lands, not just private properties. So if any of the two supervisors are interested in any of these resolutions, please let Kathy know, and we'll print them off for you, and you can read up on them and see what you think. So I was there I flew out there, had a meeting for a day, flew back. I represented Maricopa County on 2 of their resolutions, one in WIR, Western Interregional Committee, and the other one on the Rural Ag Committee. I used to be on that when I first got in office. And so I presented on both of those. They both passed for Maricopa County. One was on treatments of the salt cedars, and the other one was to expand and make the BLM cooperate more on park properties, inside parks and things like that for vendors, opening it up more to let private vendors come in and sell stuff. So I think those were both good resolutions that Maricopa County put forward on that. And then Friday, I did make it to the Payson Republican Party, their monthly meeting. And Monica and Shira are gone, but they were speakers there. They both did what I thought was a good job. I don't know, there wasn't a big crowd there, but there was 15, 20 people. So I was glad to be there and listen to that. Saturday on the 19th, I was in the Pleasant Valley Days Parade, had nothing to do with me as a supervisor. The grand marshals were all the local permittees and ranchers. And so we were all there in a group as far as that parade goes. We had a good turnout. There's about 40 floats in that parade. I don't think there's anybody left in Pleasant Valley to watch it go by, but there's about 40 floats. So, no, there's a lot of people there. Tomorrow I'll be on my way to Thatcher, the Arizona New Mexico Coalition of Counties. We're having a meeting down there. It should be a kind of an interesting meeting. The big topic right now is the Mexican wolves. And for whatever reason, it came down the pike. They didn't pull the funding for that particular project. They're just holding it. So right now, until they go through a review process, I count everything they need to count, I guess. I don't know where it's going. I really don't know. But to spend money on the Wolf project right now is cut. They can't do that. They can't spend it on mileage, feeding them, any kind of helicopter time, fuel time, anything like that. The only thing they can do is still pay for the salaries of the people that are involved. And the rest of it is on hold. So I don't know where that's going. I see two different extremes. The agriculture group, ranchers, they're really hoping this is gonna shut it down. I totally agree with them. I hope it does too. The wolf people on their side, they're downplaying it, saying, no, it's gonna come back. It'll be, it'll be reevaluated. Things will be back to normal before long. I don't know that that's the case. I hope it's not. So, we'll see where that's gonna go. But for one, is gonna be a part of our coalition of counties meeting tomorrow.
Supervisor Glenn, is there still funding for animals lost due to wolf predation?
There is, and it's through the Farm Services Administration, FSA, and it's called LIP, L-I-P. It's the Livestock Indemnity Program. And so I've got those charts on it if you or anyone would like to see. So anything that's introduced, a species like the wolf that was introduced by the feds, has a big impact on the local communities. Their loss of animals can be reimbursed through this program. Right now, from what I'm seeing, and I really don't understand why totally yet, we're still kind of trying to do some checking. New Mexico has collected a little over $5 million of that money, and Arizona has collected, if I remember right, around $300,000 of that money. So there's a big difference between the two states. I'm not real sure why, I guess. But it also covers things like drought. If there's drought going on, and there is right now, and that's gonna be a part of some up and coming meetings, I'm sure, it'll pay for part of that to your losses. So if you lose a cow or something, it'll pay 75% of that animal. And I know that that's happening right now. And so Supervisor Humphrey, yes. Senate Bill 700 passed out of the Senate State Energy and Natural Resource Committee. The reason that's important is that's because that's where our Veteran Center property is at. And so the Senate has moved, and hopefully it's not far from the floor. They'll get on the floor and be heard there. Maybe we're on a path to wrap this one up. I'm kind of thinking we are, because one of the things, I don't know if a lot of you guys seen it earlier, about 3 weeks ago, Senator Lee out of Utah was pushing or wanting to push a bill to transfer a lot of federal lands into private holdings. He's dropped that bill. That's no longer out there. But I know that the president and his administration has been looking at trying to put more public lands in private holdings. And so I'm kind of thinking that that maybe we're going to see a push on this. One of the things, going back to Philadelphia, one of the main speakers was Chris French. He's the Associate Chief, Forest Service. He brought up the fact that right now there's a movement to where you could actually go out there and push to purchase federal land up to 40 acres. And it sounds like that's kind of a directive that's coming down to the ground and is going to be out there. I don't know enough about it to really answer a lot of questions on that yet, but knowing the government, the Forest Service, it would probably be quite a lengthy process to get that done. Anyway, so that's there. The Hayden Senior Center was officially closed on June 30th. That is a big impact to Gila County and Pinal County. And unfortunately, it happened maybe as a little late, I guess, on doing this. I don't always be as quick as I can, but I had cornered a Pinal County supervisor in Philadelphia and talked to him about this. And he was going back to his board, and anyway, it comes down to funds. It's it's not a good deal. Hopefully, maybe they can somehow work it around in the near future to bring it back online. There's gonna be part of it that will still be offering some services. The, outlying areas, Gila County, Pinal County, are still gonna be receiving some meals from mom type deal. They've retained a driver, what Kathy told me down there, that's worked for them. He's gonna be going around to like the rural outlying areas and providing or dropping off these meals. So there's still a little glimmer of some activity there, but not a lot. I think honestly, from my standpoint, the way the senior centers are dealt with in the state, I think it's wrong. They don't get the funding that they need. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem like anyone wants to step up to the plate and push for it. It's something that hopefully when you see these people on the campaign trail and they're spouting all their BS like most of us do, that you bring that up and ask them, where's your real heart at? Are you gonna help with these things? Or are you just gonna be part of the problem? And I hope it changes, because there's so many people out there today, our seniors, and especially in our rural communities. That's the only person they see for a week or longer. And that's the only place they have to go if they need something, or to call, if they need some help with something. So not having one in place, it's gonna be a big impact. I'm really proud of Gila County, of us three sitting here. We've supported our senior centers from day one. We've done an awesome job. We've done literally as much as we probably can. I wish there's more we could do, but we've done a lot. And I don't know. Anyway, that's out there. Talking about projects, Supervisor Humphrey, I think, from what I understand, Gysela chip sealing was done. Troy, right, is done. I think they got some stuff done in Pine and Strawberry, right, Steve?
I haven't heard the latest.
I think they did. And so they're at their final push now is in Young. They're doing a stretch of road there. They're also doing the vet center. And a lot of people, it's already been brought to my attention, why are we doing the vet center instead of putting it on 512? Well, I wished we were putting it on 512, but we're not, because the money that's paying for this is only targeted for the vet center. So it's about a $140,000 project, and this is coming out of the $3 million that David Marshall allotted for the Pleasant Valley Vet Center. This will be the first project in that budget package that'll get spent and put on the ground. And it's gonna look really good. It's gonna be a good project. And we're gonna continue to go further with more of them, Michael. I haven't heard a whole lot lately, so, but we are pushing for other projects. We're gonna continue on and get those done. With that, I guess that's all.
Okay, thank you. We are pulling up pavement and repaving in Payson today at the TCM site of really needed paving of an older section that got ripped up pretty bad during the remodel and prior to that. And so that'll probably be completed in the next day or two. And so they were working on that in the rain this morning. So I do want to say that 2 weeks ago I met with Tanya Lewis. She is the chairwoman of the Yavapai Apaches in Camp Verde. She's the one that actually wanted to have the meeting. What she's asking the Board of Supervisors to do is have a letter of, what's the letter called? A letter of support for the water settlement that they have put together. So the tribes are all kind of going to the federal government with water settlements, and the Yavapai Apaches have come up with a settlement that seems to get like 100% approval from all of the various players and all the various people at the table. I said I would love to put that together, so supervisors expect to see something soon, that will come on our agenda that is in regard to a support letter from the Board of Supervisors for that settlement. And that'll be a good settlement for them, even though it doesn't really impact Gila County in any way water-wise. It's something that Eli Crane is requesting. Everyone in his district would have a letter supporting that. And last week, I guess, the Veterans Coffee, I met there and gave an update on the Rally Around the Flags project as it's proceeding, and Michael's been keeping me up to date on that. And it's proceeding, and it's proceeding at the basic government timeline that all things proceed at, which is sort of slowly. But it is coming along, and we should get to the point where we can award the engineering aspect of that, I guess is what you would call that, where they plan it out and get all that put together, and then we should be able to start going with that. I would love to see that project completed and somehow memorialized next July 4th, which would be the 250th anniversary of our country. So I think that would be a significant thing to do. And then also yesterday I met, I just kind of had a round table discussion, which the table was actually square, but NAU, some professor, young woman wanted to have a roundtable about wildfire prevention in our area. So there was quite a few people from the town of Payson, et cetera, and myself were there to discuss what I guess we identify over and over and over again, the problems with wildfires, the forest management, and all of the various things. And so she's going to come up with a report, and it'll just be another, report of the same topic, the same situation, with identifying all the same issues that never seem to ever get dealt with. The people absent at the meeting were the Forest Service. So anyway, I'm not going to comment on that other than they're the ones that need to be there. That's really all I have at the moment. Yes, sir.
So part of my spiel on public lands I wanted to bring up too is the county has a land management plan that was done. The last one that was done, Kathy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 2012. We need to get that updated. What I'm seeing is right now under this administration, they're directing a lot of authority to the ranger level, not even the forest supervisors, it's going below them to the ranger level. I'm not real sure how that's going to work, but coming straight from the deputy chief, that's what he's saying, it's going to the ground. But in order to be a player on this, we need that land management plan in place, and that land management plan needs to be what us three sat here and agreed to what Gila County needs to be a part of, what we want to see happening here, what we don't want to see happening, on and on and on. And the other thing I want to say too is, from a county standpoint, with everything that's happening right now, with the way the Forest Service is going, the county, James and supervisors, everybody here, we're going to need somebody pretty soon that's going to need to be focused on federal policies, issues, dealing with the Forest Service, things like that. I had seen this a couple of years ago where I kept saying a lot of stuff's going to come down to the ground level. Well, it's starting to roll off really fast now. And it doesn't have to be through the state. So if there's projects, and I'm going to tell you one for sure, is I've got the Forest Service coming to me asking about the county's involvement with their recreation program. They have a good neighbor authority that's in place. Well, we don't have to go through the state for any of that. We can go straight to the feds and do it ourselves if we elect to do that. And so there's only going to be more and more of these things coming down the pike. And if we don't get ahead of it, we're gonna be missing out on a lot. Water issues, you know, that, like you said, from the tribes. I'd like to see a copy of that settlement agreement. I was approached with that quite a while ago, and one of the things in there was the fact that they wanted to put a straw in C.C. Cragen. I personally disagree with that. That's the water that Payson and that rim country right there relies on. The state is also from a public land standpoint, is in the middle of a water fight overall in general. If we're not on our toes about that, we're gonna get left in the dirt and we're gonna lose a lot of water. It's not hard for them to put a straw in this mountain and take that water to Maricopa County. So there's a lot of things that are real important that are out there that we're going to have to stay on top of, or we're gonna sink. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, and to clarify, part of the settlement does involve C.C. Cragen, about 1,800 acre feet a year, and a $1 billion pipeline. So that is part of the settlement. So I guess SRP has come to the table and said, we have 1,800 acre feet we can offer you. And so water is going to be something that could be a battle. So is there anything else, Mr. Humphrey? No? Okay, then I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies.
Thanks, Steve.